Alrighty, we're going to start off with our DMR. This is majority about fractions, okay? You have a lovely math notebook that has all of the answers that you could ever need about fractions right inside of it. It has the vocab. It has the picture models. It tells you what a unit fraction is. So use your notes, people. Use them, okay? This says, complete the fraction with the missing numerator or denominator that matches the model. The numerator is how many parts are used or missing? Well, this is the used part. It is shaded. We have learned what shaded means, and there's one part that has been shaded. So you should have put a 1 right here. Which part of the fraction is missing? This is the top number, which is a numerator. So we would select numerator. Any questions on those two? Questions. And we're feeling good. All right, awesome. Move on down. Number 4, name the unit fraction that shows by the model. Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts in this. There's only one answer that has 4 parts. So that's one clue that it's 1/4. Another clue is unit fraction, one part of a whole. One part of this would be called 1/4. Questions on that one? 11.
Mom read this and she said it was, I thought it was half because half of the shape is.
I gotcha. So that, yes, that is called equivalent fractions, and we are going to get there. We have not yet. Now, hold on. You are both right and both wrong. This is 1/2. You guys haven't learned why yet, but Mom is right. That is 1/2 of the picture. The key word here is this word unit fraction, and unit means 1. So what is one piece is called? Okay, so unit is the key word there. So this is 1/2, but that's not the unit. That would be the total fraction. It's just a vocab question. Does that make sense, or is that still confusing?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So we are getting there. So 11, listen to your mom. All right, here we go. Next one says, how many unit fractions make up the shaded portion? So remember, unit fraction is one piece. So basically, how many 1 pieces are colored on the shape? 1, 2. There are 2 pieces that are shaded.
Okay? I was caught up on the unit fraction portion.
Alrighty, I think we had a delay. I just now started hearing other voices. Unit fraction. Okay, awesome. Elijah, a question.
Was it 2/4?
This whole fraction on the picture would be 2/4. That is what the whole fraction would be. This is asking how many units are shaded. There are 2 units shaded. 1 unit, 2 units.
But before this one.
It's the same thing, but it is not 2/4 because again, it says what is the unit fraction. That means what is one piece called?
Okay.
Okay, all right. Next one, find the area of the rectangle. We have a nice reminder here that area is length times width. My length is 5, my width is 4. 5 times 4 is 5, 10, 15, 20. I am working with area, so my answer must be inches squared or square inches, either way. And sure enough, here it is, 20 inches squared. And remember, it is called squared because if we were to put the 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, times the 5, it would create squares inside of space. Okay, that's where that square comes from. It's measuring up and down. It's measuring left and right. And when we do that, we create a square. Okay. Find the perimeter of the rectangle. Perimeter, we can see here, is 2 lengths plus 2 widths. I have a 5 here, which means I also have a 5 here. I have a 4 here, which means I also have a 4 here. So our equation, oops, not a 5. Our equation for the perimeter is 5 plus 5 plus 4 plus 4. 5 plus 5 is 10. 4 plus 4 is 8. 10 plus 8 is 18. We are working with inches, so we must also have our label. 18 inches is here. Questions or comments on that one? Okay. Last one, think about it. If each cane in this group equals 1/6 of the total group, what fraction of the group is circled? So now we're looking for the whole thing. There are 1, 2, 3 candy canes circled. So that would be 3/6. 3 out of 6 are circled. All righty. Okie dokie. You will have your other DMR released to you today at 12:45 as it normally does. And you will have your quiz on Friday. All right, kiddos, we are going to take a look at continuing fractions, but today we're going to look for number lines. So I'm going to ask you to get out your notes and look at the number line section that we recorded. I told you we were going to come back to it. We are now coming back to it. Yes, Aiden.
Can I take a minute because I gotta go use the restroom?
So right here, number line models. Okay. I want you to have those open. If you remember on our notes, we recorded 1/3. We did the same thing on our number line. We started at 0. We made 3 spaces. And then we showed a dot where 1/3 was. We're going to practice creating and reading fractions on a number line today. And remember, you will be using fractions on a number line anytime you use a ruler or a yardstick or a meter stick or a tape measure. Anytime you are measuring something, you will be using fractions on a number line, okay? We're going to take a look at fractions that are smaller than 1 today, okay? So your goal is to understand that fractions can be represented on a number line. That is the model that we are using today, okay? Fractions can be represented on a number line. All righty. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so that you can watch this video. There are points where we will be pausing to talk about what has been shown, so make sure you are ready with those answers.
How can you record fractions on a number line? Think about this question during the lesson. Mr. Singer is picking up his daughter, Greta, from school to go to soccer practice. Greta's school is located at 3/4 of the distance from the Singer's house to the soccer field. How can you represent 3/4 on a number line?
Every number on a number line represents a distance from 0.
What does the distance from 0 to 1 on the number line represent?
All right, what does 0 to 1 represent here? What is 0? Let's start there. What is at 0 in this story problem? What's at 0? SinQ, what's right here at 0?
The car in the house.
Yeah, which is where we started, right? So we start at the house in our car, and we're getting ready to travel to 1. We're going to make one whole trip. Where is that trip to? John, where are we going? Where's trip number 1? Where's that at? What is this picture showing us? Where is 1? Yeah, at the soccer field. So that 1 represents one trip from home to the soccer field. It's one car ride. Okay? So we're making one car ride from 0 to 1.
The distance from 0 to 1 on the number line represents the distance from Greta's house to the soccer field. Step 1. Draw a number line from 0 to 1. Which point on the number line represents the singer's house?
Select your answer.
We've already talked about this. We know that 0 is the house because that's where we're starting. We're starting at 0. We're going to travel until we get to 1. Okay, so we are starting at 0, which is the house. Yay!
0 represents the singer's house. 1 represents the distance from the singer's house to the soccer field. Does it matter how far apart 0 and 1 are on the number line? What does the distance between 0 and 1 tell you?
So here's the question. The question is, does it matter how long my number line is? Okay, I have 0, I have 1. Look here. Boom. I have 0, I have 1. Look here. I have 0, I have 1. Does that matter how long my hands are? If you were going to draw a picture, does it matter how big you draw that picture? Let's show me. Yes, it matters. No, it doesn't. If I draw my picture this big and put a 0 and a 1, or if I draw it this big and put a 0 and a 1, or if I draw it this big and put a 0 and a 1, does it matter? Yes? No. Ain't no tricking you guys. Look what you've learned about models. Awesome. Our answer is no, it doesn't matter, okay? Because we're calling it 0 and 1, okay? We know, looking at a map, 0 and 1 is not actually as long as the road is in the real world from 0 to 1, but it still represents or shows the same idea. Nice.
No, it does not matter how far apart 0 and 1 are on the number line. The distance between 0 and 1 tells you the length of the whole. Step 2. Divide the distance from 0 to 1 into 4 equal parts. Each length is 1/4 of the whole distance between 0 and 1. Step 3. Start at 0. Draw a point at the end of the third fourth on the line. Write 3/4. This represents the distance from the singer's house to Greta's school.
Alrighty, so according to the word problem, her school is right here. This is her school. It's not all the way to the soccer field yet, okay? So that's what they're showing us is 3/4 of the way to the school. Something else that I want to remind you of is on number lines, we count the spaces. Look how it's counting spaces. Do you see that? This space, this space, this space, and this space. That's important because remember, a lot of third graders count the lines. If I start right here and count 1, look what I just did. This is 0. This isn't 1/4, I'm at 0. So I can't count the lines. I have to count the spaces. So this is 1/4, okay? We're not gonna count the lines on a number line. If I did that, I would have 5. I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, and I don't. I only have 4 because we count the spaces, okay? Very important to remember that. Spaces, spaces, spaces. For the same reason that when you have a cake that has green frosting on it, you are not going to count the lines and say you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of cake in the top row. No, you don't. You got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We do not count the lines. We count the spaces between. Okay?
Fourths is the same as 3 lengths of 1/4. Now you know how you can record fractions on a number line.
All right, so let's get to it, okay? Fractions on a number line. I want you to grab that notebook. We're going to add some notes here, okay? If you have your notebook, we're going to take these notes together. If you do not have your notebook, remember, I am going to upload these to Seesaw, and when you get your notebook, you can add the notes there, okay? But for right now, I need you to get a pen or pencil ready. If you don't have your notes, that's okay. You're going to add them later, okay? But I do want you paying attention and thinking. So, number line. On our number line model, we're going to write the steps for creating a number line, okay? First step, step 1. I'll zoom in a bit. Step 1 is draw the whole line. And just like we talked about, it doesn't matter how big that line is. You don't want it to be so teensy tiny that you can't read it. And you don't want it to be so big that it takes up more of your paper than you have, right? So you want to come up with a good size, but you just want to make sure you draw the whole thing from 0 to 1. Okay, draw the whole line. Step 2 is to draw the partitions. We know that partitions are the dividing lines that make parts, right? Partition makes parts. I'm going to make that word part inside of partition bold so that my brain has a trick to remember. And I'll stop right there because I know that's a lot to write. So step 1, draw the whole line. Step 2, draw the partitions. So this is where you draw the parts or the spaces in the number line. Okay. There are 2 more steps, okay? 2 more steps. The third step, let me move up a bit. The third step is to label the fractions. And remember, we're going to count the spaces. We're not going to count the lines. We're going to count the spaces. So label those fractions. Our last step, the last thing that we are going to do is put a big fat dot on the fraction. Okay? Put a dot on the partition after the space. That's a long sentence. Put a dot on the partition after the space. Just like Terrence shared, when an elevator opens, it's not going to open on the line created by the floor. It's going to open on the space created by the part where you can step and stand up. Same thing. We're going to put a dot after the space that shows the whole fraction. Okay, after that space, I'm going to leave that there for you guys to copy. As you are continuing to write, I'm going to take a picture and upload it to Seesaw so that you have it if you are ever in a different location than where your notebook is, or if you lose your notebook, which would make me cry, but I understand it happens. Okay, go ahead and continue writing fractions. There we go. So those notes have been uploaded onto Seesaw. We are now going to take a look at a goofy cartoon that's going to help us understand fractions on a number line, and then we will get to work. Okay, so please watch and be thinking, because you are getting ready to do the number line fractions that this video shows. Hold on, got to turn on the sound. There we go.
Me today. I am here at the Numberline fraction race with my friend, Mr. Robot. We are racing each other. While we do a few practice runs, can you guys learn about fractions on a number line? Great. Okay, Mr. Robot, on your mark. Get set. Hey, I didn't say go yet. To start off, let's review some concepts about fractions. Here we have a fraction of 1/4. A fraction is a part of a whole or a part of a group. The numerator is the number on top and shows the parts we are talking about. In this case, it is the one green part of the circle. The number on the bottom is the denominator. The denominator tells you how many equal parts there are in all. This circle has 4 equal parts, so the denominator is 4. 1/4 of the circle is colored green. Here is a number line. A number line is pretty easy to draw, and you will soon see that they can look a lot like a ruler or a tape measure. Up top we have the fraction we need to represent on the number line. We need to divide the line into the correct number of pieces. The denominator tells us the total amount of pieces. What is the denominator in our fraction? The 4 is the denominator, so we need to divide this into 4 pieces. The 0 marks the start of the number line. We start at 0. The number 1 is on the far right. Why do you think there is a 1 there? The 1 represents the one whole or all 4 pieces of the fraction above. We could also say that it is 4/4. 4/4 is the same or equal to 1, so that is why we have the 1 here, to show we have reached one whole on the number line. This number line is broken into 4 equal parts. From here to here is 1/4. From here to here, we have 2 parts, which is 2/4. From here to here, we have 3 parts, or 3/4. From here to here, we have 4 parts, or all of them, which is 4/4, or 1, like we just talked about. Something very important we need to remember is when we are counting the fractions on a number line, we are not counting the lines. We are counting the parts in between. The jumps we did with the curved lines shows the parts of the fraction. We now know where 1/4 is on the number line. It is this part right here. That was great! Let's look at a problem to see if we can solve it. The problem says, what fraction is shown on the number line? One way to start this is by finding the denominator in the fraction. Remember, the denominator is the total amount of parts, and in order to find that, we need to count all the parts. We start at 0 and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We counted 8 parts. All that is left to do is count the parts up to the green star. Counting again, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have both the numerator and the denominator, and the fraction shown is 7/8. Great job, guys! Let's take a look at another problem to see how we do. The problem says, what fraction is missing? In this problem, we know a lot of things already. We know the denominator is 5, so that means there are 5 total parts. You may have figured it out already, but let's count each part on the number line to find the missing fraction. We count 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. We have gotten to the missing fraction. What is it? 4/5. The missing fraction is 4/5. Amazing! We have one last one to do, which will require you to draw your own number line. The problem says, using this model, draw the fraction on a number line. Take a minute and draw this fraction on a number line, then we will go over it together.
Okay, so let's think this through. If we were going to draw this on a number line, I can see that 2 of the parts are green. I can see that there are 4 parts on the whole model. So when I draw my number line, step 1, draw the whole thing. So this is 0, this is 1. Step 2, draw the partitions. I need 4 spaces. So in my head, I think this would be about 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now I've got my 4 spaces. Notice I didn't draw 4 lines. I only drew 3 lines because that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. Okay, you're not going to draw this many lines. You're going to draw that many spaces. All right, so there's my 4 parts. Now it says label the fractions. Easy enough. This is 0. This is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and then 1 whole, which is the same thing as 4/4. Step 4, put a dot on the partition after the space. 2/4 is 1, 2, right here. Big fat dot. Boom. I've shown 2/4 on a number line.
Did you get it? Let's do it together. We have the start to our number line. The 0 is where we start, and we have 1 at the end because we are talking about just one whole shape. The denominator is what tells us how many total parts there are. If we count each part of the rectangle, we see there are 4 total parts, so we divide the number line into 4 parts. Looking at the rectangle, 2 parts are colored green, so that is our numerator. We start counting 1, 2. We now have reached the 2 on the number line. The fraction is 2/4. We have shown where 2/4 is on a number line. Great job! Another cool fact is you can notice that 2/4 is halfway between 0 and 1, which tells us 2/4 is the same as 1/2. Awesome! I am going to win, Mr. Robot. I just need to get a little faster. Whoa! Okay, maybe I will win next time, Mr. Robot. See you guys later. Goodbye. Hey, guys.
All right, so that is how we are going to draw fractions on a number line today. I am going to ask you guys to go ahead and go to your activities on Seesaw. You have an assignment that has been unlocked to you called Lesson 12-4, Fractions on a Number Line. Jalen, I'm going to go ahead and send this back to you because it says with your teacher, and there's no way you've done it with your teacher because I'm your teacher and we haven't done it yet. So 12-4, fractions on a number line. Go ahead and click on the Add Response. The directions tell us that we're going to do slides 1 through 6 together. Okay, this is what it looks like when you open up that response. Okay, so slide 1 says with your teacher. Let's get ready and go to slide 2. Slide 2 says complete the warm-up with your teacher. Okay, the warm-up says at a state park, there is a 1-mile hiking path between the park entrance and the beach. Scenic lookouts are located at points 1/3 and 2/3 of the distance from the park entrance to the beach. Show about where the lookout points are located on the line below. So I'm going to take a look at my number line notes. Step 1, draw the whole line. They did that for me. Look, 0 to 1, the line is there. Step 2, draw the partitions. My word problem tells me that I am dealing with thirds. So I need to create 3 pieces, from 0 to 1, from 1 to 2, and then 2 to 1 whole is already done. So you need to add 2 partitions. And actually, I'm going to do this with the seesaw notes so it saves. There we go. So again, I'm going to add 1, 2 lines, and that's going to give me 3 sections. Step 3, label the fractions. This is 0 thirds. Label it, please. This is 1 third. Label it, please. This is 2 thirds. Label it, please. This is 3 thirds, which is the same as 1 whole because we have all 3 of the 3 parts. Okay? Step 4, put a dot on the partition after the space. My dots go on 1 third and 2 thirds. So I'm going to put a big fat dot right here for the first lookout and a big fat dot right here on the second lookout. Our directions said show where the lookout points are located on the line below. Here are the 2 lookout points, there and there. So we are good to go on that one. What questions can I answer about this? Questions, comments, concerns about this slide only? Steve Rogers.
I almost couldn't keep up with the pace and I'm still drawing my lines.
You're almost what?
I was drawing my lines and you were adding the dots. Maybe you could take it a bit slower.
You got it, kiddo. Yes, I can. I can slow down. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. The important thing that I want you to know is that your steps to solve are going to be the same every time. You're always going to draw the whole line first. You're always going to draw the partitions or the sections or the parts or the pieces second. You are always going to label those fractions third. And you are always going to put a dot on the fraction that you have been asked to find last. Okay? So those 4 steps, you're seeing me look at them every time. I expect you to look at them every time so that you know what you are going to be doing. Okay? Alrighty. I will upload this if you didn't get this slide. I do want us to make sure we get through these. So let's go on to slide 3. Okay? Slide 3 is an example that we looked at on the video. This is exactly what you saw about the singer's house getting to the soccer field. So again, if you feel stuck, you've got steps right here, and they're the same steps that you wrote in your notebook. Okay, they just combined one of the steps into 2 pieces. Okay, that's why they have 3. Steps are right there. Nothing to do here. It's just an example to read and look through. Please go to slide 4. Slide 4 says, in 3 and 4, divide the number line into the given number of equal lengths. Then mark and label the given fraction on the number line. So we're going to look at number 3. 2 equal lengths, or halves, because we know that half has 2 parts. So I'm going to put step 1, draw the whole line. They did that for me. It's right here. Step 2, draw the partitions. Half is right in the middle. Boom. Make your half partition. Focus, Levin. Step 3, label the fractions. This is 0 halves. This is 1 half. This is 2 halves. Remember that 0 halves is the same as 0 or nothing. 2 halves is the same as all or 1 whole because you have both pieces. 1 half is in the middle. So divide the number line. We've done that. Mark and label the given fraction on a number line. We have been given the fraction 1 half, so we're going to put a big fat dot on 1 half. This is how we mark that fraction. We put a mark on the line. So now we have done the marking and the labeling. Remember that copying does not help your brain learn. Critically thinking and making sure you understand what you're writing does help your brain learn. So what questions can I answer about this? What do you need to understand about number 3? Okay, let's look at number 4. This time we are making 4 equal lengths and we're going to mark 2/4. So in my head, I'm going to imagine how big I could make 4 pieces. So I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that should work. So I'm going to make 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, and then my 1 whole is my 4 parts. So even though I need 4 parts, I only created 3 lines because I'm counting the spaces between them, and there are 4. Okay. Step 1, draw the line. They did that for us. Step 2, draw the partitions. We did that. Step 3, label the fractions. This is 0/4. This is 1/4. The next one is 2/4. The next one is 3/4. The last one is 4/4. All 4/4. I don't care if you type it like I just did or if you write it like we did on the first example. You just need to make sure you have every single partition labeled. Go ahead and do it however you choose now, by writing with the pen or by typing with your label tool. Okay. Now I'm going to do my 4th step. Put a dot on the partition of the space. This space that they've asked us to find is 2/4. 2/4 is right here because I have 1, 2 pieces. Yes, it is the 3rd line because I start at 0, but we don't count lines, we count spaces. 1, 2. So we put our big fat dot right here on 2/4. Again, copying the teacher does not mean you know what to do. Understanding tells you know what to do. Does anyone have a question about something that they do not understand? Questions are good. They make me happy. Christopher.
Yeah, I don't get really much. Like, why do we have to put a dot like that much?
Great question. So the reason that we're putting the dot, Christopher, is because we're asked to show where 2/4 was. If I did not draw the dot, I didn't show where 2/4 was. Okay, so when we put 2/4, it's showing, hey, I know where that is. It's right here. So it's kind of like pointing to your answer. Does that make more sense, or is that still confusing?
It makes more sense.
All right, thank you, Christopher, for that question. All right, let's take a look at number 5. Slide 5 says, be precise. Jerry stopped at 3/6, that seems important, of the distance from his home to school. The 0 represents home. The 1 represents the school. On the number line below, create the number line into equal lengths and label the point where Jerry stopped. Okay, so we're going to draw step 1. Draw the whole thing. It said that his home is at 0. It said that his school was at 1. So I might draw a picture of his house to be at 0. And his school is at 1. Okay, so step 1, draw the whole line. We've done that. Step 2 says label or draw the partitions. Okay, now I'm going to show you something else that I'd like for you to do. This is going to get really messy. Nobody do this. Let's say I start drawing my 6 and they look like this. That's a problem because look how tiny this piece is and look how big this piece is. But guess what happens when I go to erase it? Ah! My line is gone. So we're not going to use the line. When we think a number line might be hard, we're going to use the shapes tool. So go ahead and grab that line that we use to create shapes, the partitions on the shape, and turn it sideways. So you've got a sideways line. So grab that blue line and turn it sideways so it's going up and down. And then we're going to shorten this so that it makes sense on our number line. Okay? Now, if I put it in the wrong place, I don't have to use the erase tool. I can just slide it where I want it to be. Look at that. Boop, 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 boop. Okay? So let's duplicate this. So there's 1/6. There's a second 6th. There's a third 6th. Duplicate again for a fourth 6th. Duplicate again for a fifth 6th. And then you already have your 6/6 at one hole. Okay? Now, using my eyes, I can see that this piece is a lot smaller than this last piece. So I'm just going to drag these over until I feel like they're equal-sized pieces. That looks better to me. See how much easier it is to drag your pieces than it is to erase and accidentally erase your line? So that's a good trick. If you think, oh man, I have to make 8, that's going to take forever. use this shapes tool, and then you can just move it quickly instead of having to erase and redraw and then erase and redraw, okay? So step 1, draw the whole line, done. Step 2, draw the partitions, done. Step 3, label the fractions, not done. We are dealing with sixths. So I'm going to label 1/6. Make it a little bit smaller. Duplicate it, but change it to 2/6. Oop, not 32/6. I'm going to duplicate it and change it to 3/6. I'm going to duplicate it and change it to 4/6. I'm going to duplicate it and change it to 5/6. And then if I wanted to, I could call my 1/6 6/6. It means the same thing. 1/6 is the same as 6/6, just like 0 is the same as 0/6, okay? And again, I don't care if you write it or if you write it, or if you type it or if you write it, but you need to make sure that I can read it. So if your writing looks like this, that's not going to work for me. Make sure your writing is neat, and if you can't write it neat, make sure you type it, okay? This says, label the point where Jerry stopped. Well, look right here. Jerry stopped at 3/6. So we're going to put our big fat dot right here at 3/6 because we want to show that we know where he stopped. Okay? He stopped at 3/6. All righty. Questions about this slide? Questions about this slide only. I'm not taking questions about anything else right now. Terrence.
So why do we oh no, but you I really can't stop at the other thing.
Terrence, I'm so sorry. You sounded very choppy. I'm going to have you type that in the chat. Terrence, I'm going to have you type it in the chat because I can't hear you at all. It's very choppy. There you go. I just sent you a message. All right. Let's go to slide 6. On slide 6, I want you to cross out in your breakout room. And I want you to put EC. This is going to be extra credit. We're out of time. We're late by a lot. So we're going to add some extra credit opportunities for you. So you're not going to go to a breakout room. You're going to get this opportunity as extra credit. Okay. So slide 6 is extra credit. Your instructions tell you that you are going to complete slides 7 through 11 by following the directions on each slide. On the last slide, you will explain why you do or do not feel successful using math vocabulary. Again, I want to remind you, it was easy, it was hard, I did it fast, it took me a long time, I was perfect, is not math vocabulary, nor does it tell me that you know what a number line fraction is. So if I were to say, what's a fraction on a number line? And you say, oh, it's easy. You didn't tell me that you know what it is at all, okay? So you need to make sure on that last slide, you are using these vocabulary words to tell me that you know what you're doing, okay? So again, you're going to complete 8, 9, and 10 for a grade. 8, 9, and 10 are being graded. 11 is also being graded because it's not a choice. If you don't turn this in, you are missing points, okay? You will click the check when you are sure that you have answered all parts of the question. That is your independent work for the day.